your journey,
My
like,
journey.
why you do what you do, what happened, and what brought you to where you're at today.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I just keep it as short as I can.
Well, I think it's an impressive journey, so you don't have to keep it short.
Oh, well, okay. All right. I just don't want to take a lot of time away from, other stuff that we want to talk about. But all right. So my my parents got divorced when I was 10,
Mhm.
and my mother had an affair with a horrible man, but nobody knew it. Um they got married, and he was violent. He was a pedophile. He was a criminal, a severe narcissist, and very, very abusive. And so when I turned 11 is when, everything hit the fan, and he really started showing his ass, drunk all the time. I mean, it was a lot of stuff, and they were fighting all the time. And so a lot of things happened to me growing up in that time period from like age 11 to, I'd say, probably he left, I think I was 17. Um,
He waited 6 years too long. Yeah, I hear you.
yeah, yeah. Well, my mom didn't have the strength to really push him out the door and keep him out. He was, narcissists know how to screw with your head, and they go back and forth, and they know how to groom you and pull you in. And my mom was very, very weak, and my mom grew up without a dad. And she had two daughters, my sister and I. And he was horribly abusive. He was abusive to us, he was horribly abusive to her. Um, you know, I was molested at the age of 7. Um, I don't know that my sister was, but I certainly was for several years. I mean, he didn't actually, do anything major, but he did enough, right?
Hey,
Um
anything is anything, right?
Anything, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, watching me outside the bathroom window while I'm taking a shower, coming in my room and my mom's drunk and has left the house and fondling me. I mean, those are pretty disgusting things to do to an 11-year-old, and
Of 10 years.
I had no idea what was going on, and then I was threatened that if I said anything, he would kill my dad. S Yeah, and I believed he was capable of doing it. So we
Yeah.
moved a lot. We moved a lot. My mom was like a gypsy, and moved everywhere. And so I bounced around a lot. I ended up at one point in South Georgia, Lee County, Georgia, which was one of my favorite places to live as a kid in middle school. And life was good. He was still crazy, but I was old enough that I had then a boyfriend. I had my horses. I had okay things. I had tried out for cheerleading and actually made it. I had, been asked to do homecoming. I made it. And then I never got to continue those things because he went to jail, got out. And then my mom said, we're moving back to Miami. So I had to leave all that stuff. And my
Oh, in
horses,
Georgia, you left it in Georgia is what you
I
did.
left the cheerleading and the homecoming and my high school and everything, my friends. My horses, I came home one day, my horses were gone. He just gave them away. I mean, there were so many things that he did that I can't even describe all of them, but I'll just say this, when we made it back to Miami, my mom basically dropped us off with my grandparents and said, "I'm gonna go away for a little while, you're gonna stay with Nana and Grandpa," and so I was grateful for that because I had a clean, loving home. My grandmother was awesome. My grandmother was everything to me. And, I went through high school, and then in, I guess it was half of 11th grade, they showed back up, and he yanked me out of the house and said, "You're going back with us." And so I had to live in his
Oh, wait, the
disgusting.
one who went to jail is now back with your mom?
He was, yeah, yeah, because she kept
At
bailing
this
him
point
out.
in time?
She kept bailing him out, yeah. She kept bailing him out with my
Hmm.
dad's child support money. Yeah, it was bad. And she was drinking a lot, and he was drinking a lot. It was just horrible. So that, you know, once I had to go back to home with my mom and him, I had made friends in high school, And so I seriously considered running away. I mean, I was planning on running away, but I didn't want to leave my little sister. And I knew she wasn't going to come with me. And I couldn't go to live with my dad because that's the first place that they would look. So I was like really confused. And I decided what I was going to do is I just was going to go hang out at my best friend's house as much as possible. So I'd go over there on the weekends, and I'd go spend all the time with her. And oh, thank you, Chris. And I got through high school. I graduated. Right before I graduated, he took a job in Saudi Arabia, and you could go overseas and work your butt off, make a crap ton of money, and then you don't get taxed for it, right?
No, I didn't
Like,
know that.
well, it's a bunch of labor and aviation stuff and whatever. So he did that, and then he called on Christmas Eve morning and told my mom that he met another woman and that he was going to leave her, and I was super excited.
Well, I'm gonna say, yeah, you're doing the happy dance,
I
right?
was dancing a jig. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I was very happy. And then at 18, I moved out and I just tried to fend for myself and live on my own. I lived in Midtown Atlanta for a while. That was awesome. I had way too much fun. And then I came back to Florida, and my whole journey has been one of absolute survival. Um, I struggled a lot. I starved. I couldn't ask really for help. I remember at one point asking my dad for help and he yelled at me. And, just my mom, when I moved out, she says, "You'll be back. You need me." And I'm like, "Oh,
Not
those are
really.
fighting words for me." So
Yeah, I'm
uh,
like, not really. Thank you.
I just, no matter what I did, I didn't care if I was starving and living in the alley. I was not going to go back to my mom. So I struggled a lot. But the reason I do what I do is because when I had those friends of mine and their families were so amazing and so loving to me, and I had really good grandparents, right? And I had grandparents on both sides that were wonderful. My dad's family's from Brazil, and they would come visit once in a while. But I did get a couple things that went right, right? A lot of things went wrong, but I did get some things that went right. And that was the love that I got from my grandparents, my grandfathers. If I hadn't had the love of my grandfathers, I would have hated men today by the way I was treated by my stepfather.
Oh, yes,
Um,
for
and
sure.
my dad was kind of absent. My dad remarried and had a new family. It's all that. But those are the things that went right, was being able to participate even on holidays like Thanksgiving and stuff like that with my friends' families. They just welcomed me in. They were so loving to me. And of course, my friends had told them kind of what was going on. Um, but when I guess I always had these gifts that I could sense entities and ghosts and people that had not crossed over. And I had that since I was a kid. And it at one point it kind of got to scare me, and I closed off my abilities. When I hit about 40 and I'd had my last child, I went to a really good reader, real good medium. He was from the UK. And the first thing he said to me is, "Why did you turn off your abilities?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "You closed everything down. You shut your third eye. You just shut everything down." I go, "Oh, because you used to scare me when I was a kid." And he's like, "No, you need to open it again because you have something really important that you're going to be doing." And I'm
Yeah,
like,
so, when I work with people, there's a lot of people I work with who have either buried it, turned it off,
right.
so I have to pull it out of the ground wherever they buried it or reactivate. And that's a really important, not to interrupt your story, but it's a really important part of your story that you're sharing, that we get scared about what that looks like, or from a past life. They have buried it because we were being punished for our gifts, right? And so we come back into this lifetime and we don't recognize how gifted we are.
Well, none of us do, and we all have these gifts, right? Now, interesting enough, my mom's side, I come from kind of a family of witches. So, and witches means wise. It doesn't mean Satan. There's no
Oh,
devil in the craft. That's what you
so everyone has a
choose.
different definition. I like your definition, that witches mean wise.
Because we were
I
medicine
just
women.
consider, like, I look at it as divine guidance, for me,
Mhm.
and I honor everyone else's, and I like your definition of witch, but for me, it just, I always had a different definition growing up, so,
A
but
lot of
please
people
carry on.
did back
Yeah.
then, and, I mean, I was born in 1960, so I went through all those, decades of
1963, there you
yeah,
go.
yeah, decades of the wrong kind of thinking because, everybody, the churches and everything, religion put the fear of hell and everything in us, but anyway, so I understood some of that stuff growing up because I was surrounded by it on my mom's side of the family. And I thought it was normal. I thought everybody was like that everybody understood that. But then I started realizing that they weren't. So I kind of closed off my gifts because it did scare me. And I thought people are looking at me like I'm crazy because they're not aware of this. Like, because we weren't told, unless you grew up in a family like that, you really weren't taught because it was taboo, right? So,
Well, all of it's taboo. I mean, people, um, look, we're not. I remember when I first really stepped into my gifts versus stepping into my power, which is completely different. But
mhm,
um, I'm like, they don't teach you in the second grade, right? And
no,
they don't teach you how to protect your energy. They don't even teach you that you have energy, right? Other than,
no,
yeah, they don't teach you anything. They don't teach you that you are energy, and that's your frequency being, and that you have to protect your energy, and that other energy can bounce into you. And I'm like, well, that would have been really helpful. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been misdiagnosed as having bipolar and schizophrenia, right? Like that would have been really helpful. Like
yeah. Well,
years later.
a lot of kids have gone through that and then been put away in places or given really strong medication. But when I did turn 40 and he told me that, I said, okay. And I opened myself back up again. And then things started happening. I started feeling and sensing. I don't think that ever completely went away because I could always sense, but it started becoming stronger as I was more accepting of it. And when I turned 48, I met my now third husband. We'd gone to high school together in Miami, and we were friends. And we started dating. And at 50, he took me to Tony Robbins for my birthday. And I spent 4 days doing a UPW, Unleash the Power Within
Mhm.
course. And it was on the fourth day that I told him, I'm going to become a life coach. Now, I know a lot of people from Tony Robbins, they all become life coaches. And whether they really do it or not, that's up to them. But I really, really wanted to do it. I really felt the calling. I was going to give up on radio, come off
Mm.
air, and really pursue this full time. And so I did. And then I studied, I got certified, I did courses, I did a bunch of classes. I spent a couple of years really studying uh, NLP and then equine assisted life coaching. I did that course that took about a year. I did that
So for
between
people who don't know what NLP, it's
oh, neuro linguistic programming.
yeah,
Yeah.
neuro-linguistic programming.
Yeah, and
It's
that's a
really
tool that I'll use a lot in coaching. It's got a long, definition to it, but basically, it's the way your mind works and the way your brain works and the way you communicate with your brain and understand things. I kinda changed that up a little bit. I work with it, but I switch it. So,
yeah, it's a great tool. I actually took it in college.
yeah, it is a great tool.
Yeah.
So, I started doing that, and everything started all the cogs started clicking into place, and, that's how I do what I do, but the reason I really do it is I wanna pay it forward. All the people in my life when I was going through so much hell,
Mhm.
were there for me. Uh, it it really showed me how people can be very kind and very open in their hearts, and it was because of my horses, because there's a couple nights I spent sleeping out in the stall because I could not take what was going on in the house. I mean, he'd whip out a gun and point it at my mother, and, if I went to grab the phone, I was thrown across the room. I mean, it was really, really bad, and I think he's actually still alive somewhere and bragging about all the stuff that he has done, to people. So,
Ugh.
that's fine. I forgave him, I blessed him. I sent him love and light, as I've done everybody that was toxic in my life.
Yeah, and
And
I do the same thing too, right?
yeah, you
Because
really have to, because otherwise, and I wanted to end my soul contract with that group. I'm like, "Okay, I know I came here to learn self-love and my warrior strength and
mhm.
my purpose. My purpose is now working with people and helping to heal them." And there's really, when people come to work with me, there's really nothing that they can tell me that's going to shock me, because I've
Well,
pretty much been through it all.
that's the thing, and actually Andrew brought that out about me because one, I was on, as you know, 17 different medications. I had, I don't know, like a 20, I think about 24, 25 different chronic conditions. So as a medical intuitive, there wasn't a whole lot of mistakes that you made that I hadn't already made, right?
Mhm.
Nothing
Mhm.
was going to shock me either, right? So it's like you don't have to come here and put your head down low because I did it already. I'm the one who ate the entire box of Twinkies. I'm the one, like I did the shit, right? I made all the mistakes. I, took all the drugs, prescription drugs, but still I took all the drugs. I'm the one who bought them and put them in my mouth. Um, and so the gift to us is that we don't, we've been there. We don't have judgment on it, right?
Mhm.
We've
Mhm.
done it. So go ahead, let it all hang out loose because we know, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true, and with working with the horses, I knew how they actually had healed me. They saved me from going down a very bad path, and if it hadn't been for them, I don't know where I'd be. I mean, I've gone to a couple therapists working through divorces, and they said, "You should not be sitting as still as you are right now. You should, everything you've gone through."